we all know the province and the city have been in a tug of war over Toronto's transit system for months now. But now there appears to be a truce. Mayor John Tory agreeing to back the Ford government's Ontario line, which would run from Ontario Place to the Science Centre. In exchange, the province dropping its subway upload plans. And the deal would also secure nearly $30 billion in new transit investment. It, however, still needs council approval. Now, standing by at the Exhibition GO station is our Tammie Sutherland with Mayor John Tory with some details of next steps. Good morning, Tammie.
Good morning, Melanie. That's right. So we're joined by Mayor John Tory this morning. And the first question is, how much did the agreement to allow Toronto to keep control of the subway really play into your endorsement of the Ontario line?
Well, a lot, because I think the notion of us being able to continue to operate an integrated transit system where the buses and the streetcars are owned and operated by the same people as the subway made sense. It was something that was very important to us. Toronto taxpayers have built that subway over many years, so it was important, but it was a much larger deal than that. I mean, if you look at other benefits to us, these lines now, the Ontario line and the Scarborough subway, are now going to be built at a cost of billions of dollars at no cost to Toronto taxpayers. The city will not be required to make a contribution to those projects anymore, and we will be able to take that money, about $5 billion, and apply it to the state of good repair of the subway and to projects like the Scarborough East LRT and the waterfront transit. So these are some of the things that are part of a very big deal, but I think overall, and I wouldn't be recommending it if that deal wasn't really good for the people of the City of Toronto, and most importantly, to get on with building transit so we don't spend 5 more years having endless fighting. I just think people are fed up with that. I'm fed up with that. I just want to build transit, and I want to work together with the other governments, Mr. Trudeau or whoever is there after Monday, and with Mr. Ford to get on with transit.
Now, when it comes to next steps and getting this project started, when will shovels be in the ground?
Well, the province has indicated, and I'm strongly supportive of this, that they want to put this Ontario line project, for example, out to the construction sector next year and say, who's interested, on what terms would you build it, and so on. So I think the answer to your question is ASAP, like pronto. We want to get on with building it, and I think people will really know it's happening, and me too, when we see those construction companies actually starting the work. And it's very exciting because this Ontario line, for example, takes transit up to Don Mills and Eglinton and connects up with the Eglinton Crosstown and provides transit service, for example, to Thorncliffe Park, Flemington Park, neighborhoods that need it, and much sooner than would have been the case if we'd gone with the previous arrangements.
But does it delay Scarborough? The extension into Scarborough, that now has to sit to the sidelines for a little bit.
In doing a deal like this, there are trade-offs, and yes, I mean, the answer to your question is yes, Scarborough will be delayed, and I'm very sorry about that, because we were ready to go to construction tender, this winter for the Scarborough subway that would have gone express to the Scarborough Civic Centre. So it will take longer now because it's going to be a 3-stop subway, but that's one of the things that we had to trade off, and I just will tell people in Scarborough they're going to get a subway that goes further, but we are going to have to work really hard, which the TTC is doing, to find a way to make sure that people in Scarborough, if the RT doesn't last all the way through, have a way to get to and from where they're going that is better than they might think at the moment. But yes, that's one of the trade-offs we had to make.
And are you confident that this will go through City Council and be approved? I know there were several councillors who were very critical of the Ontario line when it was first announced.
I hope so. There were many councillors that told us, throw away their phone number, don't talk to them, they're bad people and they have bad ideas. And my posture and that of the majority of council was, you have to work with these other governments. You have to work with who's there, Premier Ford and whoever. So everybody did sit down, and Premier Ford sat down too, to give him credit for agreeing to sit at the table. We've reached a deal which I think is a good deal for Toronto. It will move transit forward. It will have us in a better position financially. So I hope it will pass. My job is to make sure I get the votes to make it pass at the end of this month.
And do you think that Doug Ford's threat of uploading the subway was a bargaining chip, in a sense, to help the city endorse it?
No, and the reason I say that is because the uploading discussion had actually been begun by Premier Kathleen Wynne. Patrick Brown, the previous leader of the PCs, he had talked about it, and Mr. Ford just carried through with it. And they campaigned quite earnestly on it, and that's one thing where it made it tougher for us, because they had in fact campaigned on it and won the election. And so I think it was serious. I think they believed, for financial and other reasons, it would be better for them to own the subway. I don't believe that, and the majority of council doesn't believe that, and so now we're going to continue to own it. And I don't think it was any kind of, I think it was a very serious thing they were going to do, and in fact they had prepared legislation to do it. So it's not going to happen now, and I think that's very good for us.
All right, thank you so much again. That's Mayor John Tory joining us. And And of course, the Ontario line expected to be completed by 2027. Mel, I'll send it back to you.